Hello there, my name is Jeenaev and welcome to JNWN. In JNWN, we share news from all around the world. What kind of news? Business, financial, and economic news. In this episode, we're discussing what happened in the year of 2020 using Stopmotion and Lego. This year has contained a lot of unprecedented, tough times for everyone. And as we approach the end of it, it's time we take a look at some of the top stories. However, stories such as the US elections and COVID-19 are topics that you probably already know about. So I will be discussing the top stories of this year that have gone unnoticed or haven't attracted that much media attention. Also, according to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking the video, please consider subscribing. Let's get straight into it. Firstly, in more recent news, during this year, global carbon emissions have been down by 7%, a temporary reduction in CO2 emissions during the pandemic, at least according to an estimate by the Global Carbon Project, using data from the Integrated Carbon Observation System, or the ICOS, which analyzes global CO2 emissions. However, the drop from the pandemic will have little effect on combating climate change, as the emissions produced this year are still greater than what the world's forests, oceans, and soils can absorb. Dr. Pep Canadell, executive director of the Global Carbon Project, said that they had never seen anything like the drop in CO2 emissions, with one of the main industries having severe decreases in emissions being the transportation industry, as more people were staying from home instead of going to work. The ICOS declared that in the US and EU, emissions were down by 12 and 11% respectively, but in countries like China, where the pandemic was handled swiftly, emissions fell just 1.7%. But don't forget about the Nobel Peace Prize. This year, it was awarded to the World Food Program for their work on providing life-saving food assistance to around 10 million people in more than 88 countries who suffer from acute food insecurity and hunger. The World Food Program is the world's largest humanitarian organization addressing hunger, particularly in countries where war and conflict is present. Moving on to the world of astronomy. Jupiter and Saturn appeared together in a superconjunction in the visible sky on December 21st, their closest visible alignment in the last 800 years. However, the two planets have never been close to each other throughout the year. They will pass within 0.1 degrees during the winter solstice, or the longest night of the year. Now let's discuss polio. Earlier this year, the African Regional Certification Commission announced that Africa was now free of wild polio 4 years after there has been a case in the region. Because of this historic milestone, wild poliovirus transmission is now only found in Pakistan and Afghanistan. This is thanks to the ground volunteers who canvassed about polio awareness and vaccine administration, organized by the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, a partnership between national governments with 6 main partners: the World Health Organization, Rotary International, Center for Disease Control, UNICEF, the Vaccine Alliance, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ending wild polio virus in Africa is one of the greatest public health achievements of our time and provides powerful inspiration for all of us to finish the job of eradicating polio globally, is what WHO Director General had to say in response to the news. And there's also been a lot of landmark changes and decisions made on LGBTQ rights. For example, in Croatia, their top court ruled that blocking gay couples from fostering children was unconstitutional. While homosexuality does remain criminalized in Sudan, the death penalty for it has been lifted. And finally, in Canada, Yukon has become the first territory that is banning conversion therapy. Finally, in 2020, there was a multitude of important elections from all across the world. In Taiwan, the incumbent president, who contended Taiwan as an independent country, won re-election against their opponent, who favored strengthening ties with China for Taiwanese benefit. In New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern won re-election with her party, the Labour Party, winning a majority of seats in the New Zealand Parliament. After the victory, she declared a national emergency on climate change. 2020 has been a crazy year for everyone, but it has also been a year where it is noticeable the progress that our species is making and our adaptability and resilience is commendable. That's the top stories of 2020. Thank you, and I'll see you next year.